Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the third episode of the Procrastinasian Podcast. I am your co-host, Alex Kang, and with me, as always, we got
Carmen,
who's also a co-host. It's just the two of us today, and today we are going to stick closer to our name, and we're going to talk about some more Asian-related things today. So I kind of want to start off with asking you, do you have an Asian racial preference when you're dating?
Okay, I thought I did. I think it's like it bounces back and forth from Korean and Chinese.
Your last ex was Filipino.
Yeah, he kind of just slipped in there. He kind of just slipped in there.
Yeah, he slipped in there.
Was not intended. I mean, to be honest, when I met him, I wasn't looking for a partner at all. He kind of just was like, too bad.
So it's just like Korean Chinese is usually your preference.
I mean, it's my preference. It's like the way I think of preference is more of what I would be more easily attracted to, but that doesn't mean I won't be attracted to other races, I guess, right? So I think it's Korean and Chinese are slightly higher.
So if you saw an equally attractive white guy and an equally attractive Chinese guy, which one would you date?
Chinese.
The Chinese guy?
Yeah.
So would you ever date a white guy?
In my head, I would say no, but like, who knows?
Why not?
Yeah, like I'm open to it.
You're open to
I
it?
won't like not go on a date with someone just because they're white. I think in my head it would be harder for them to like pursue me.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I think they would have to have more characteristics that I'm attracted to like.
Oh, so they would need to be more attractive than your.
Not look wise, but like personality. Like, like for example, if there's an Asian guy or a Chinese guy versus a white guy, and like maybe the white guy he has the same music taste as me, maybe he's a dancer, then probably I'll be more attracted to the white guy.
Oh, so the white guy has to be more attractive to be equally as attractive as the
I would say
Asian
so.
guy.
I think that's how preference works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say that you have like a preference for Asian guys, because there's like some Asian chicks out there that are like, I'll only date white dudes.
You can see that in a lot of happy kids nowadays. It's always the girl. It's always the girl.
It's always the girl, that's true.
Right?
But, okay, honestly, for me, whenever I see an Asian girl dating a white guy, I'm like, okay. But whenever I see an Asian guy dating a white girl, I'm like,
Is it though?
I don't know. It's just for me. Is it like, I mean, like, you see Asian girls dating white guys all the time, I feel like, but you don't see much of the white girls dating the Asian guys.
I feel like, okay, maybe before I would think that, but nowadays there's so much, like, hype about Asian guys. I feel like, I don't know.
Do you know a white girl that's dating an Asian guy right now?
White girl dating an Asian guy. I don't know a lot of
You don't know
white
a lot
girls.
of white girls?
I don't know a lot of white girls. Not that I'm not open to being friends with them, but yeah, no.
No?
But I think usually white girls, like, I'm not close with any white girls, but I know, like, those that I do know are more attracted to Asian guys.
I just feel like that's the type of friends you make, though.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, I'm Asian, so I hang out with Asians, so I guess, like, the white people that come into my friend group,
They like Asians.
this is like Asians. or like we have the same interests, right? It could be like Asian related, so kind of.
Okay, so follow-up question then. What's your experience been with like yellow fever, and do you think it's okay?
To be honest, I've had experiences with it, and I know it's yellow fever because people just assume I'm Korean. I think I told you this, right? Someone came up to me, like through messages. I got mentioned this like 2-3 times. All K-pop related. I don't know why. Like, literally one person was like, "You look like the missing member of Blackpink," and I was like,
Oh wait, so their opening line to you is something
Korean,
K-pop related.
K-pop related to Korean, and then I don't know, because again, K-pop idols, they don't have to be Korean, but then I kind of like be like, oh, okay, and then the next question is, oh, are you in Korea right now, or like, you know, like that kind of stuff. So then I'm like, oh, okay, you really do think I'm Korean. So I feel like they're just K-pop.
And these are white guys.
No, some of them are like brown guys too.
Oh, there's some of them are brown guys?
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, I think it's more brown. Because I think Asian people can tell Asian people apart.
Sometimes, yeah.
Most
of the time.
Chinese, Korean, Japanese, those type of... I don't know, apparently some brown people can't tell that I'm not Korean.
I'm not surprised though, because like, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I'd be able to tell apart like different, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yellow fever, you already know how I feel about when people like judge me based off of looks. So it's like, oh, if you're like only talking to me or like only attracted to me just because I'm
just
Asian,
because you're Asian,
like get to know me, man.
Ah, that's true.
Especially since like I'm not the most Asian person. I think.
But like, don't you think having yellow fever is like, oh, it's just the girls just getting their foot in the door, as opposed to them not wanting to get to know you first? It's just like because they have that preference, you know.
I mean, I'm someone who just like doesn't really care about race that much, as you can see from my dating history.
You just said that you were...
I have a preference, but I'm not gonna be like...
Oh, you're not gonna discriminate.
Yeah, I'm not. Like, like, there are definitely people that are like, oh, I'm only strictly into like Asian girls and that kind of stuff, or like Chinese girls, or Korean, I don't know. It's just weird to me. But I feel like you probably experience the same thing with being mixed, right? I feel like our generation, at least, everyone's like, oh my god, mixed people.
Nobody knows I'm mixed.
Oh, that's true.
People look at me and they think automatically that I'm Chinese. Or unless I'm wearing a very certain outfit, then they're like, okay, that guy's Korean. He's not Chinese.
What outfit do you wear that makes you like a freaking winter?
Yeah, like sometimes when I'm wearing like, I feel like sometimes when I'm wearing my like overcoats or like wearing certain outfits, I look more Korean as opposed to Chinese. But then other times, it's almost always that they default to Chinese for me. Yeah. Because I don't know. Maybe I look more Chinese, but...
But when you like go on dates or whatever, right? When you mention that you're mixed, do you not like see a reaction? They're like, oh my god, wow, like...
I don't think they care.
Really?
Because
I think girls care for sure.
I feel like it's different though. Because if you're like a white Asian mix, then it's like, oh, you're like a Asian. But then when you're an Asian mix, it's, you know, I don't know if people care as much.
Really?
Yeah, because, okay, like I tell people, yeah, I'm Chinese and Korean. They're like, oh my, no, I mean, actually they don't even say that. They're like, oh, cool, you know, like, it's not like, oh my god, like, you know, it's just, and then usually their follow-up question is, oh, can you speak Korean?
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
You can speak a little Chinese. Yeah, I can speak Chinese.
I can speak some Mandarin.
Yeah. Because I remember in high school, I think you told me.
I took Mandarin in high school, yeah.
But yellow fever, I mean, I'm not gonna like hate on anyone for having yellow fever, but I think it also has this expectation for those who like for being a certain like being Asian enough. You know what I mean? Like if someone has yellow fever and they're dating someone just because they're really interested in Asian people, what if they're not really like culturally like, you know, inversed in like the Asian stuff, right? So then what if I don't know, I feel like there's this expectation of like, oh yeah, I expect like my partner to like do this and that alongside like following the Asian traditions. And what if they don't? You just I don't know.
Oh, so they be dating them because
they're just I don't understand yellow fever.
Like because they like the Asian culture? Is that why?
And also just looks, right?
Okay.
Because they're...
I mean, Asian people are straight up attractive, but...
I feel like every episode you always like have one comment. Someone's absolutely gorgeous.
Dude, Filipino women, gorgeous. Korean women, gorgeous. Chinese women, gorgeous.
Is there someone that... Like, what's your Asian preference then?
My Asian preference?
Yeah. If you think everyone's so gorgeous.
I would definitely date any
race,
any like Southeast Asian. I don't know. I'm like you. Like I have that preference, but I'm open to dating anybody if I like them enough as a person, right? So for me, a lot of the attraction's in their personality, as opposed to their looks. And I mean, sometimes it's like how they act and stuff too, you know.
Yeah.
But actually, going back to your point about yellow fever, like I think there's like a boundary for where it's okay and where it's not. I think like where it starts to not be okay is where it's a fetish.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you are just into Asians because you have like this weird fetish about them or like whatever, then that's like I don't know about that, you know? But I think if you just have a preference, like I think that's different. Like if you're interested in the culture or like you just find them more attractive or whatever, I think that's okay, but the fetish is where I kind of draw the line.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are some people out there who have like yellow fever, but it's yellow fetish more like, right?
Yeah, I think the reason why I kind of more attracted to like Chinese Korean is because I think our culture is similar in a sense. So then it'll be easier for me, like I'm just comfortable learning. Because I'm always paranoid, like me dating a Filipino, they're more, like I said before, extroverted, and I always feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm always paranoid that like, oh, like what if I'm overstepping on a certain type of like culture or like tradition.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I think I'll more comfortable dating someone who's Chinese or Korean.
Just because you're more familiar with it?
Yeah, just because I'm more familiar with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for example, like Japanese, though I'm pretty sure they are similar, I think they're a lot more stricter with cultures. I mean, Korean is too, but I think I'm more familiar with it. But Japanese, I think they're a lot stricter, and I'm just gonna be like paranoid.
See, it's funny because a lot of people like nowadays I feel like really like Japanese women, or just Japanese culture in general. But like if you go back like 20 years, like okay, because I don't know if you've experienced this, but like if you talk to some like the older Chinese, Koreans, any of the older Asians that are not Japanese, they hate the Japanese.
Yeah.
Right? But because of the war, right? And because of what happened, right? But it has like turned so fast, which I think is kind of crazy.
Oh, how like this hatred just kind of disappeared?
Yeah, how it kind of just disappeared and it kind of got stuck at the generational level, and it didn't just get passed down. Like, because like I feel like, I don't know, you'd not pass it down, but you would express it if you're like from your grandparents to parents to kid.
Yeah.
And that would kind of leave an impression on the kid.
I see.
I mean, not necessarily, like, I'm not necessarily saying that they would impose, like, any hatred on the kid. I'm just saying that they would, like, leave an impression about Japanese people that the kid could later evaluate and, like, be conscious of. But I feel like our generation, our Asian generation, maybe it's just because we're in Canada, but I feel like they don't even know about it.
Yeah, that's very true. You know what's actually surprising? In elementary school, I knew someone who, like, our age, who was half Japanese, half Chinese. And I was like completely mind-blown.
That is crazy because you wouldn't expect like a Chinese and Japanese to date at that time.
Like now, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's like kind of, overlooked now. But back then, it's like, I don't know. I feel like, especially since I think Chinese and Japanese people, especially back then, they have a lot of pride in their like nationality.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's another thing. No, I'm always really like curious. Like if someone, like either Chinese or Japanese, wanted to get into like let's say a Japanese person wanted to get into like was dating a Chinese person, right? I wonder how difficult that is for just to be accepted by the family. Because I mean like maybe the parents are fine, but the grandparents. Yeah, that must be actually. Oh, that was like another time, which is kind of scary. No, I think I had a similar experience. When my older sister was dating a Korean. I was also dating a Korean, but that was a secret. But my dad, my dad was very verbally, I don't know, I think he was just being a dad. Like, he was just being overprotective because this is my sister's first partner. But he was just, like, in a sense, being racist. He was saying how, like, but he's a very traditional Chinese man who has a lot of pride in being Chinese. So he was saying like a bunch of things about like how like horrible the boyfriend is, despite not meeting him. And the reasoning for like how bad it was like, oh yeah, like Korean men, they're this and that, like they're all so self-centered. And I'm like, are you hearing yourself? You haven't even met the guy, and you're just creating these like assumptions about him, right? So it's so interesting how I think, at least like my parents, or like I feel like our parents' generation, they like definitely focus on race a lot more than we do.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I think they do focus a lot more on race. Because, yeah, I feel like even my parents would be surprised. I mean, I don't think they would disapprove. I just think they would be surprised if I pulled up one day with, like, a white girlfriend. Or, like, a girlfriend that wasn't even, like, Chinese or Korean, to be honest. Like, I don't think they disapprove. I just think they'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's really surprising though was I thought it was my grandparents who would be more disapproving of me dating someone that's not Chinese, but they were actually the most welcoming. Like, of course, my mom and dad both verbalized that they want someone who's Chinese, mainly because communication reasons. Like, their English isn't great, so they want to be able to communicate with my partner. Whereas my grandmother in China, she was like, she was so funny. I think I told you this, right? Have I? She was like telling me, this is when I was dating a Korean guy, but I didn't tell anyone. She was like really serious, like, Carmen, I really, really want some white halfy great grandkids. And I was like, because at the time my sister was already dating a Korean guy, right? So she doesn't know I was like taken at the time. She's like, I really, like, I want some beautiful, like, some halfy kids, so pretty, like, please. And I was like 16 at the time. I'm like, or not 16, I was like 17, 18. I was like, I will try my best, Grandma.
Your grandma knows what's up.
And then my other grandma here, when I was dating a Filipino, after we broke up, I told her. She was so funny. It was like over Chinese New Year. She didn't know we'd broken up. So she was like, oh yeah, Carmen and her boyfriend, like, so nice. And then my uncle's like, they broke up. Like, shh, be quiet. And she looked at me across the room. She's like, you guys broke up? And then I was like, yes, Grandma, we ended things. She's like, come over here. I was like, oh, yes. And she's like, what happened to that nice Filipino man? Like, he's like so nice. How could you let him go? And I was
no.
I was like, Grandma, I didn't even know you liked him. Like, were you guys even able to communicate? He's like, oh, he's such a nice man. I can tell from his eyes. Like, I didn't know that they were so open to me dating, like, people that's outside. Because, like, yeah, my parents' English is poor, but their English is
worse.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Right? So I was really surprised. Different times, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's weird. That is definitely weird. Anyways, next question.
Oh yeah, since we're talking about grandparents, so, like, what is one Asian trait or characteristic that you would like to pass down to your kids? Especially since we are Asians that are, like, born in an immigrant country, in a sense.
Like, traits that are typically conceived as Asian?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like in the West, there's a lot more focus on the individual. Whereas in the East, there's a lot more focus on the family. Which, honestly, I kind of like. Like, okay, like, obviously, yeah, like, you gotta, like, focus on yourself and, like, do things for yourself. But I think having that focus on family as well is really important. Right? So I think something that I would, like a what is it? A quality? A quality that I would kind of want to instill in future generations, at least, is that sense of, I guess, duty? Not duty necessarily, but just like that like you want to, like, be there for your family when they kind of need it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, no, I think household, like, in Asian countries, like, your household means a lot with your status as well. I'm surprised because actually I think I wouldn't change that. I value the individualistic kind of...
The individualistic thing?
Like, lifestyle? Yeah. Not saying I don't value my family. I think it's just, you're a very family guy. That I know, you're really close to your family, where for me, I am someone who needs some distance with my family to show affection, if that makes sense. I think maybe it's like personality issues, but yeah, no. I mean, I get it, but...
Yeah, see, like, yeah, that's interesting, because I was reading a paper, like, a little while back, about it was about like health econ, right? And it showed that like in the West, like people, like families, when their grandparents or their parents start to get older, like usually the first thing to do is they send them off to like a home, like a retirement home or like a whatever. But like it was talking in the paper that in Asia it's more likely that they keep them in the house and they take care of the parent themselves, which I thought was interesting because then it went on to like give evidence for the fact that putting them in a home is worse for their mental health, and there's like higher rates of depression, higher rates of like I think in some cases it was like suicide, and like they were just definitely like the argument was they were definitely like more sad and less satisfied with their life, as opposed to people that were allowed to stay home and kind of remain in their own environment. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that you should like have your parents when they get older stay with you, but I'm saying that you should contribute a little bit more to like taking care of them as opposed to just sticking them in a home or whatever and kind of like just paying for it and having it not be your problem, maybe. I don't know. I'm not, honestly, this is just my opinion right now based on what I know and what I've read and my experience so far. Obviously it'll probably change as I get older and stuff like that, but I don't know.
I mean, okay, going just the study, right?
Yeah.
I worked at like a senior home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's right.
Yeah, I worked at like an independent senior home, so meaning like they don't technically have to be there. It's independent, so it's not assisted living. They're very capable of taking care of themselves, but they're at that age. If they have a fall, it could be kind of really bad. And mental health there, especially I was there during COVID. It was honestly really heartbreaking to see people just not be able to see their family because we had to go on lockdown. They weren't able to, like, no visitors were allowed just because it was just a scary time and they were more at risk. But there's this saying that like mental health really affects someone's like physical health. Yeah. And I actually truly believe that. Like I seen, for example, a resident that I really cared for, her health was just not the greatest. And then she had a best friend at the senior home. She actually had to move to another senior home just because that's just what the family wanted. And this is actually also really sad. The senior that had to move, she didn't want to go. It was her family's decision.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It was the family's decision for financial reasons. And that's fair, but it's just the fact that she couldn't really have a say in it was kind of heartbreaking because she was there for so long. So once that senior left, the senior that stayed, her health just went down. She was just so, like, I don't know what happened, but her health just went, she was just really, really sad all the time, and she could hardly get out of bed. And I think her not being able to see her husband, which was in an assisted senior living home, and her best friend leaving, it's definitely, senior homes, I mean, if they don't have to be there, I personally wouldn't never put my parents in there. I'm not
having like worked at one?
Yeah. Unless I feel like special circumstances, right? Like maybe you really don't have the time to take care of them and you just want that extra reassurance that if they injured themselves, if they fell, there is a 24-hour staff to help them. That's understandable because that's what independent senior living is just the convenience of having staff there, having your laundry done, having housekeeping done. Meals are super convenient, right? So it's just being extra safe and like cautious. But if they don't have to be there, like spend time with them.
See, actually, it's funny that you say that because the way they say like, oh, I'm worried that since I can't be here, they're gonna fall and I'm not gonna be able to help them. Or something's gonna happen and I can't help them. It's funny because in the book they actually say that that's kind of selfish. Where they say, like the younger generation, because they're concerned about their parents or their grandparents or whatever, and they're concerned for their health, that they become kind of selfish because they're not ready, they're not willing to let go of their grandparents. Like, when I say let go, I mean like kind of let them have their own independence because they don't want them to get hurt. Whereas the grandparents or the older generation has a very different take. Like, if I get injured, then yeah, that's not great, but I want to be able to not live in an assisted living home or like in that kind of setting, and I'd rather just live in my own place and kind of just not take the risk, but be able to do what I want. I think they like understand that it's like these are my last few years or my last part of my life, so I want to be able to do what I want. But then because the younger generation is because, oh no, you might get hurt and I won't be able to do anything because I'm not there or whatever, I want somebody watching you all the time, then it kind of imposes on their freedom, right? So then, you know, kind of messes with their mental health and then their physical health deteriorates like you were saying. So it's, I don't know, it's a very, it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough to do that, yeah.
What I realize is you comparing Eastern and Western cultures, I think the reason why we're such an individualistic kind of lifestyle is a lot of us are workaholics.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if you agree with that, but from what I've seen in the senior home, everyone's just busy working. I mean, it was a really nice senior home, so they really,
Are you talking about the residents?
Yeah.
They're busy working?
Or not the residents, the kids of the seniors that were at the senior home.
Oh, yeah.
They're
okay.
all busy working, and that's fine, but I think as generations go by, we're slowly becoming more and more like workaholics, and we don't really think about family as much, right? Like, we're embodying that, once we're graduated, we're gonna leave and just go somewhere else to work.
Yeah, I think we're becoming a little bit more isolated. I mean, at least that's been my impression. I think generations are becoming a bit more isolated. Like, people just don't talk to their parents, grandparents anymore. Because I mean, I don't know about like, because you said that your grandparents can't really talk English, but at least you can like speak Cantonese, right? So you can kind of speak to them.
Yeah.
For me, because I can't speak Mandarin very well and I can't speak Korean at all, like it's not hard. Actually, it is hard. It is hard for me to communicate with my grandparents, even though they know a little bit of English, because sometimes communication is just difficult, you know, and it's hard for them to say what they want to say, and because of that, we don't talk as much. Like, whenever we're out at dinners or something like that, I feel like communication goes through, okay, like if I'm out with my mom's side, which is Korean, they talk to my mom and my mom asks me the question or something like that. Or sometimes they'll ask me the question directly in English, but mostly when we go out for family functions like that, the conversation is between my mom and my grandparents, and then it's just like like the rest of my family and I. And honestly, I feel like it's the same for my Chinese side too, but it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because my grandma speaks a little more English, and she spends a lot of time with my uncle's family, who speaks a lot of English too. So I think she's gotten more accustomed to English, but especially for my Korean side, it's like I'm not so I think part of the reason why I'm not so in touch with my Korean side is because my Korean grandparents don't speak as much. They don't speak as, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just different. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, yeah, I don't know.
No, that's why I think one of the traits or it's not even the trait or characteristic, but something I definitely want for my future kids. Although my Chinese isn't the greatest, I will definitely send them to Chinese school.
Yeah, because you want them to learn English.
I want them to be able to communicate with my mom, hopefully their great grandparents, right? Or just like, I want them to be better at Chinese than I am.
Yeah.
I don't want them. I don't want like my kids and then my grandkids to just slowly like not be able to speak, only be able to speak English, right? I think it's so important to just make sure you have your what's it called, mainland language, or like
your ethnic language.
Ethnic language, right? And that's one of the things with being like, if you were to date someone that's outside of your race, I had this conversation with my most recent ex, where it's like, what are we gonna do? Because it's like, because at the time we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna be together forever, right? But it's like, oh, how are we gonna teach our kids Chinese and like Tagalog, like, right? So I feel like I was really happy. Like, honestly, that's a green flag for just to have that conversation, because I don't want someone to just be like, oh no, they can speak English, right? Yeah. Keeping up with like just your tradition in your culture is so important to me. Because as a kid, I didn't value being Chinese, I guess. It was almost like I was embarrassed. Like, I think that's a very typical foreign, foreign-born Asian, is me being embarrassed that I was Chinese.
That's interesting.
Were you not?
No, I don't think I was. Actually, but the first time someone said to me that, they're like, oh yeah, I don't really, I am Asian, but I don't really care so much about my history, my culture.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time someone said that to me, I was like, really? That was just so surprising to me. But yeah, I think so too. I would want to know at least a little bit of Chinese and Korean. And I mean, like, I don't know any Korean, but I want to learn. Like, I want to go to Korea and live there for a little bit just to learn and experience the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go to China as well to do the exact same thing. But yeah, anyways, should we move on? Okay, why don't we like kind of expand on that? Like, do you think then, like, per your point, because you want your kids to like know their culture and learn their language, do you think it's like bad to be whitewashed?
I don't think it's bad to be whitewashed, because I am also whitewashed.
Yeah, no, same.
But it depends on like your attitude about it, right? Where it's like, oh, like I try my best to touch base with just my Chinese culture, because I feel like I'm always gonna be whitewashed. Like, me being born here, there's definitely some things I won't understand,
That's
especially
true.
with my poor Chinese. But I make the effort of trying to represent like me being Chinese, where I think there might be some people who are whitewashed who are just completely okay being like that. And there's no judgment with that. It's just, for me, I personally would want to just not be considered whitewashed. I don't know.
Like, for me, I don't know. Why would you not be interested in your family's history?
Yeah, right?
Right? Like, obviously, if you're if you're a foreign-born Asian, like you were saying, and your parents came over or your grandparents came over or whatever your story is, I would be interested in that. Because, I mean, like, my dad's told me the story of how my grandparents immigrated over here.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, it makes me kind of proud of where we are now, just thinking back on it, because they had to like live in some pretty dismal conditions, but like now seeing where my family's at, it's pretty amazing to watch the intergenerational like wealth increase over time.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really cool.
No, now that you mention it, I do feel the same way. From hearing like my grandparents' story about where they were financially and health-wise, and looking at where we are now, like, that's one of the things where I'm like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be whitewashed. But though, again, whitewash doesn't mean like you striving in a different country, right?
Yeah.
But no, I 100% agree that I'm glad my parents did decide to come and move here. Not saying that I would be sad if I stayed in China, but I wouldn't know what I would be like if I wasn't born here. No, I would just be a completely different person. Me being born here and being whitewashed is a big part of my identity, though I do not like to admit it, but yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
same.
no, I think I remember like in elementary school, I called myself a banana.
I call myself a banana to this day.
Yeah, yellow on the outside, it is white on the inside. Like, I don't know, man. But what's really surprising, especially after working at the senior home, I noticed that, like, I think after high school is when I noticed I really wanted to get in touch with just my Chinese culture. I don't know about you, but like, I remember as a kid I hated being Chinese.
Really?
Hate's a strong word, but I really just didn't like it. I don't know what it was, but I think there are times I thought I looked down upon, but it's also expectations-wise. Like, everyone, the whole stereotypical idea of how Chinese people, they're super smart, they're super talented, and I felt like I didn't live up to that expectation, so I really despised it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because for me, when I was growing up, I didn't feel like I was any different from the other kids. But maybe that's just because of the way I was brought up. because I speak English at home, whereas I feel like you speak Cantonese at home.
I do.
So it was much easier for me then to kind of integrate with all the other kids because I spoke English at home and I was brought up speaking English. But then at the same time, I kind of wish that my parents spoke a little bit more Korean and Chinese to me when I was growing up, because then I feel like I would know a little bit more and it would be easier for me to kind of springboard off of that to learn more of the language. But I don't know, you know.
Even though I spoke Cantonese at home, I still had a lot of communication problems with my family, especially my parents. There was a lot of miscommunication where we both get frustrated, which is one of the things I regretted as a kid, is just not putting the effort in learning. Because I was Cantonese, or even just Mandarin. Oh my god, I failed Chinese school. I was that kid who failed Chinese school.
See, I never went to Chinese school. My Chinese school was like every summer, my dad, like at least when I was younger, my dad would pull out, you know, like those sheets where you'd write the characters on? He would pull out those sheets and he'd like teach us a couple of words. And I always remember my sisters and I, we hated it. We hated it because he would just literally make us sit there and write out the words like 12 times. And we were just like, oh, this is so boring. These words are so hard, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Wait, something I'm curious about. So, your grandparents were the ones who came here, not your parents.
Yeah, my grandparents were the ones that came here when they were like adults. And then what happened was they brought my parents over when they were like really young, like 3, 4, 5-ish. Yeah, so my parents actually grew up here.
So they're technically whitewashed.
No, actually they're not. Like my dad can speak fluent Mandarin pretty well. He can't read it.
Okay.
He can read it, but he can speak it better than he can read. But he's not like he wouldn't be able to go to school in China because it's just a different level of Chinese.
Yeah.
But my mom's Korean isn't as good as my dad's Chinese, I don't think. But she's not. I don't know if she's whitewashed. I definitely don't think she's whitewashed.
Okay.
But yeah, they grew up here. Yeah.
No, I was gonna ask because like my parents were born in China, and I think once they got married, they came here.
Oh yeah.
So they're like literally came here just to like have kids, right?
Oh, I see.
So this might be a dark topic, but I was really curious. Were you ever hit as a kid?
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like your definition of hit is different from my definition.
What's your definition of hit?
No, let's go with you first. I'm
like,
curious.
My parents would sometimes like, you know, when you're a little kid, they like spank you for like being bad.
Like just in the arm, or like.
Like flick me, like they like hit my butt.
Like bent over hit, or just
no,
like,
not bent over. They just, you know.
That's it?
Yeah.
No tools?
No tools, I don't think. Why?
Damn, you had it nice.
Well, because my parents grew up here, so I feel like they have a different view on like raising kids.
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, because that's actually a good point, because when people start talking, when my Asian friends start talking about, oh yeah, I get beat all the time. Yeah, I get beat, but I wouldn't get beat to the extent that they're beat.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, yeah, bro, my mom would fucking grab a spatula and just like, start wailing.
That's a typical like Asian childhood experience.
Yeah, no, like I feel like that's something that that is something I definitely never experienced.
Not saying that I would ever do this to my kids.
Yeah.
But it is like a core memory that every typical
Asian kid has. That was brought up in like a more Asian household.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that really shows how Asian you are. It's just literally being like, have you ever got like how bad were you ever hit like as a kid?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, actually I wanted to
I want to finish what I was saying.
Oh, sorry. Okay, wait, hang on.
About being beat as a kid. No, okay, wait. So the worst, I think this is really funny. So, I live in a house, so we have a lot of windows in our houses. There's this wooden stick that like we put in between the windows so people can't like open it from the outside.
Yeah.
So think about how many sticks there are that are very like accessible and within hands like arm's reach.
Yeah.
So I got like all the time. Okay, not all the time.
Like on the head?
Oh my god, hell no! Like where people can't see.
Make them stupider.
I remember I got hit like under your butt, so like where you're like behind your legs, like up here.
Oh, below your. Oh no, okay.
Yeah. Under
behind your thigh.
Yeah, behind your thigh.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got hit there a lot, and just the legs in general. And I remember one time I had bruises. And I say more than usual because I was a mischievous child.
You're a mischievous child.
I was the worst out of the three for sure. No, I literally just.
This baby Carmen.
Dude, no, you know I was like mischievous because like my dad, what he would do sometimes, he would be like, put your hands out, and I'll be like this, and then he would like slap it really hard, and then me being as stubborn as I was like, I'm fine. I was like, do it harder. I'm okay. Like
you said that?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
I was like, I'm fine. Like try not to cry. I'm like, you can hit me more.
That's funny because I feel like maybe my sister's experience is different because I was a really good kid.
No.
I was a really good kid growing up. Like I would not step out of line at all. So like my parents my parents seldom had a reason to actually hit me, which is why like I experienced a little bit of the beating,
yeah.
But
not as much as
my sisters, I feel like. So maybe my sister's experience is a little bit different.
Damn.
But follow-up question, not like specific to like Asian youth, but like, do you think sometimes that in some cases violence is necessary?
No. Or
violence is like warranted?
Like, are we just talking about child? Like,
no, just in any situation.
See, I'm trying to think about when is a time I'll ever use violence, and that would be to hit my friend's ex.
What do you mean?
Cheaters. I would hit them.
Oh, so you just go up...
I would. If I see them, and like, if they really did my friend dirty, I would be like...
So you just slap them, like, out of the blue. Like, you're just walking on the street. This poor man is just walking on the street, and then Carmen just walks up to him and then... BAM!
There's only one person I can think of, and like this person I'm really like willing to go to jail for it. Like I'm okay being arrested just to beat this one person up. Like
just to slap him once?
Yeah, but other than that, I don't think violence is... I mean, like, unless you're getting like freaking assaulted, but aside from that, I don't think so. I would never lay a hand on my kid. Or at least I say so.
What about for like ethical concerns? Like people... Okay, countries go to war because they believe certain things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's like every war ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, countries go to war because they believe certain things, right?
Yeah.
So would you, if you ever had like an ethical discrepancy, I suppose, like with somebody else, do you think that's worth getting violent over, especially if they have like just this outlandish view?
No.
Like, there's this weird hillbilly just saying women shouldn't have rights. I like my alligator sautéed. I like, you know, I don't know, you know, like one of those like southern people
that are very, very within, like, yeah, have like very strong opinions.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't associate myself with them. Like, I would just be like, you're just someone I don't want to interact with. Why do I have to get physical?
Okay, but let's say you're having a conversation with like this hillbilly, right? He's like, Asians should go back to where they came from. I don't know, something like that, you know? And he's like, women, you should be in the kitchen and, what's something else? You should be like planting my rice and building my railroads or something, you know, something that's very like
sexist.
Outwardly sexist, racist, just totally bad.
Yeah.
And you're just like you're just like there having a conversation with this person. Would you say that like kind of warrants some sort of violent response?
Violent verbally, sure, but again, I won't get physical.
But like just psh, like, you know, slap them and like walk away?
I won't get physical. Only verbal. Yeah, the only reason why I'll get physical is if I'm defending myself. Like, if they seem like they're gonna lay a hand on me, I will.
If they seem like they pose a threat to you.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna. Okay, here's the thing. The 5 tenets of Taekwondo, as being a martial artist, like I can't, you know, like that is one of the things that we stand by. Like,
oh yes. No, actually that's true. When I was in martial arts too, that's kind of thing. You want to solve it.
Yeah, like you don't. resort in
You don't resort to violence to solve a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why would you? And also, like, I don't see a positive outcome in resorting in violence. Like, what? There's probably another alternative, which is probably gonna lead to a better.
That's true.
But no, oh my god, this reminds me of just like you're talking about sexism. So I went to Toronto, right? Like last week, dude. In freaking Vancouver, there was this old white couple in front. They were doing the security check. They were going through the machine, and for some reason they kept beeping. So there was like a older Filipino lady in front of me. They were keep going back and forth, and then the husband or whatever was kind of like ordering this Filipino girl. She's like, move back, or whatever he said. I couldn't even understand him. The lady was confused because he's talking so fast, and then he goes, "Can you move back? It's simple English." And I was like,
"Oh, she said it to you?"
Said it to the older Filipino lady.
Oh, sorry, to the older
in front of me,
okay.
And I was like processing what the fuck just happened, and then. Dude, this lady was the kindest soul because she literally looked back at me and she's like, "I'm so sorry, like my English isn't good, like I couldn't understand." I was like, "Don't worry, I didn't even understand what the heck they said." Mm-hmm. Like, I was so like disgusted by them. Like they were literally like, "It's simple English, it's microaggression."
Yes.
Right? It's not technically racist, but like, come on, dude, you literally mumbled. I couldn't even fucking hear you. There's so many like microaggressions, dude. People need to realize and we need to start calling out microaggressions. 100%. I don't know if you experienced any. Like, one of them I experienced, it was treated as a compliment. But I was like, the heck? What was this? When one of my coworkers in the past, he was Latino, he was like saying like, he's like, "Oh, Carmen, you're really pretty for a Chinese girl." And I was like,
"Oh, okay.
What do you mean by like for a Chinese girl?" And like, I literally called him out and he was so flustered. He was like, "Oh, like, you know, like, Chinese girls," and I was like, "I know what?" And he's like, "Oh, is this," dude, and then the answer he gave me did not help at all, because I was, like, inching for, like, an answer from him to even say that, and he was like, "Oh, it's just, I don't know, like, your eyes are bigger," and I was like,
"Oh my god, what?"
And then, me kind of sort of knowing this dude, I was like, okay, I understand, your English isn't the greatest, and also, like, you're not from here. I told him, don't ever say that. Like, don't ever say for a Chinese girl, for a Korean girl, like, don't, just leave it at that. Like, what's wrong with the way mainland Chinese girl look? Like, I think they're really pretty. Like, don't have these secondhanded, like, comments.
These underhanded compliments.
Yeah, underhanded. Yeah, I was like, the heck? I don't know if you're, like, ever experienced microaggression.
I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think like a lot of microaggression or just like subtle racist things are very, for me as like maybe as a Chinese female, it's very beauty related, beauty standard related. There was a time when I was working as a barista. I wasn't even working. I was just there to just hang with my coworkers, and this regular literally called me over, and we had like a sign kind of like this with our like menu, and he's like, come over here. Hate that. Never call a woman like this. Like, that's so stupid. He literally was like, come over here.
Come here.
That's literally what you look like. Like, stop.
Like Pennywise?
Hi, Georgie. It's so, like, can you just be like, "Oh, hey," you know, like, don't fucking, what am I, a dog? Okay, anyways, but I was like, what the heck does this guy want? And I was like, I literally walked up, because I was in the staff area, I was like, "Hi, I'm not working right now." Like, I'm not gonna be nice. Like, customer service, not relevant right now. And he grabs the menu, that's like, pretty much like a letter-sized paper, and he holds it against my waist.
Oh my.
He literally goes like this, he goes, "Oh, if only you were a little bit skinnier."
Really?
Yeah. I don't even know this dude. I don't even know his name. He just knows I work there.
And he held up a menu to you and
He
was
literally like, I came over and I was like, "I'm not working." And that's the main reason why he called me over, is to measure my waist based off of this menu paper. Because I don't know if you heard, at that time, there was this trend in China where your waist is like, you fit the beauty standard if your waist like holds, like is within a normal piece of paper.
Oh.
The size of a piece of paper.
But
like the fact that you're doing it to someone else, bro, I can do the same to you, but I'm not because I'm not like that. Who is he to do that? Dude, I was so triggered. I literally went back, so speechless. I was just completely speechless.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked. No, not kind of. That is fucked.
That is, and so many beauty standards in Korea and in China is the same. Like Chinese, there's so many outrageous trends. I think one of them was literally fitting a goldfish in your collarbone. Like filling it up with water and putting like a fish in it.
Man, the amount of skinny you have to be for that.
Right? And another
that's anorexic.
It is.
Yeah.
Another one is like putting your hand around your waist and seeing if you can touch your belly button.
What
like, don't ever do this because this is fucking, it's crazy, outrageous. Beauty standards, man.
That's crazy.
And there's none for men. You don't ever see one for men.
That's true.
What is up with that?
That's wild.
Yeah, that this stranger, this regular, literally felt like he had the right to just measure my waist for no reason.
That's crazy. That's messed up. That is messed up.
Like, and I'm pretty sure he is someone definitely with Asian fever because he kept telling me about all these places he's been to in Asia. And he definitely wouldn't have done that to someone who wasn't Asian.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never... Maybe it's just because I'm a guy, too. But I've never faced that kind of individualized discrimination.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was applying to universities, I don't even know if I did, but maybe I did face some discrimination because some of the, like, really top-level schools are like, oh, we have to meet certain quotas for diversity, they call it. But, it's... I don't think I've ever faced racism or microaggression at that level. Yeah.
I think it's definitely more obvious for females.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more the more girls I talk to and the more women I get to know, the more I realize the world's kind of a fucked up place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the more I begin to like lose faith in humanity, I don't know, it's just men, be good people.
It's always, not to be sexist, but from my experience, it's always men who are either sexist or racist or both.
Yeah.
Like, sorry to like ramble on, but at my most recent workplace, where we deal with kids, because it's like kind of like a recreational gymnastics place, this is also like right after COVID, I had a parent who was anti-vaccine, not vaccine, or just like COVID, right? Believed that it was made up, you know, that kind of thing, anti-masker, whatever. And there was, after some of the restrictions lifted up, we couldn't really do anything about it except for tell him to leave as much as we can. But he was so strong about this. He literally went to the city hall and had like a Zoom meeting with them.
Really?
And he showed it to me. He's like, here, like you should educate yourself. And I'm just here being like, zoning out.
Yeah.
I'm in customer service, right? I kind of have to. I was on call. But there was one time where after this incident, I told my boss, I'm never talking to this man ever again because I'm actually gonna yell at him. He came into the office being like, it was a preschool class, so 3 to 4 year old. He was saying like, there's this mom who's forcing her kid to wear a mask. He can't even breathe. He's hyperventilating, blah, blah, blah. Like, he won't be able to breathe with all like this exercising. And then we just reassured him, if the kid is really having trouble breathing, the coach is gonna say something, right? No coach is gonna let a kid just be like that out of breath. But we're just saying, like, we said that, and we also said this is another like parent's kid who can't say, you know, like, we're not in the place to say anything, and we were hoping that was a good enough answer. But then I had this gut feeling he was gonna do something. 5 minutes later, a mom came in saying there is what did he say? No, not even that. There's 2 incidents where one of them I hear a bunch of yelling. I look out and he's yelling at the mom, saying that she's a child abuser, saying that she shouldn't even be a mother. And I was like, I literally was so, like, pissed. Like, there are people that you made uncomfortable by not wearing a mask. But did they really say anything? Who knows? Maybe they did. But they're not gonna call you a child abuser. And I actually know this mom. She was super like nice, and like was just super understanding. So to see her being attacked like that for no goddamn reason was so infuriating. That was one incident. Another incident, he actually went up to a kid, telling him that he shouldn't be wearing a mask. A freaking preschooler. And then the mom came in saying there's a grown-ass man like harassing my child. Literally, thank God I was in the middle of a phone call. My boss was the one who had to address the situation because I would have told him off. Again, verbal abuse, never physical. But I can't. Like, my faith in humanity is slowly decreasing every year.
Yeah. But then you always meet that one person that's like, oh, you know what, maybe my faith in humanity is kind of restored.
That has not happened to me yet. Please, send them my way.
I've met some people like that where it's like, oh, you know, I really kind of like you because you give me hope.
Yeah, I think we need a lot of hope, especially after COVID. I think after COVID I realized how many idiotic people there are in this world.
Yeah. And I don't want to leave the podcast off on that note, but I don't know, I think we're running short on time.
We are.
So I think we're just going to cut it off there.
Yes.
Yeah, so guys, a bit more of a solemn note to end on. Sorry about that. But also, this episode is the last episode Carmen will be in Vancouver for a long time.
Yes.
She's going off to exchange, which is super exciting. She's going to love it, I'm sure of it. So this is the last time you're going to see Carmen on the episode in person. We're going to still figure out what's going to go on with co-hosting, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it. If anyone's in Korea, hit me up.
Yep.
I'll be there for like 5 months.
Yeah.
It'll be really exciting.
But
yeah.
I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah.
It's okay. You'll be back for the summer.
And then I'll be back for the summer. I think
we'll run some more episodes then.
Yeah. Hopefully things go well. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart while I'm
fine,
gone.
You'll be fine. I'll be keeping the fort.
Yeah.
Down here. I'll be your singular co-host or co-host over Zoom.
We'll be having a lot more guests, so he won't be by himself.
We'll be having a lot more guests.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow all of our socials down in the caption below, and we will see you next time on the very next episode of the Procrastination Podcast. Let's end it off. Ganbei!
Ganbei!
Bye, guys. Have a good one.